So during those early days, we were building momentum and we were building some pretty cool cars. It was a very exciting time because we really got to spread our wings. We had some customers that really believed in us, so we were able to build a few really standout pieces. One of them was a '69 Camaro we built for a guy in Winona, Minnesota. And that was definitely our highest end build at the time. It was a big block stroker, it was a 5-speed overdrive, it had vintage air, it had a full custom interior, had a really awesome house of color, kind of a Cortez silver paint job, Stinger hood on it. It was a really neat car for the time. That went on the scene and got a ton of attention, and it was like, okay, now people started, recognizing our name in the industry, and we'd go to shows and it's like, oh yeah, we heard of you guys. Yeah, you guys build some awesome cars, and it was just like, anytime you heard something like that, it was just like, all right, well, now we're gaining ground. This is cool. So we just kept rolling with that momentum, and we were in the process of working on this '71 Challenger RT for a gentleman out in California, Daniel, and it just turned into this crazy build. The more that we worked on this car, the more details that he wanted added, and he just really kind of got immersed in the build, and this car just kind of evolved into this whole different creation than we originally imagined it was going to be. This is a real RT Challenger, and it came in and it was, we took it apart, got it media blasted, and it was like, okay, this thing it's going to need some work. So we went to town with Rust Repair, got a bunch of replacement panels for it, and we were in discussions about what direction that we wanted to go with this car. And he had done some road racing. His local track is Laguna Seca, and so it's like, well, it would be cool to do kind of a tribute to, a Trans Am race car. And there was a legendary Challenger, the Sam Posey car, the number 77 car. And so it was like, that would be kind of cool to do, kind of a tribute to that car. And so that was kind of the basis of that build. But we did, a fair amount of modern touches with it. We did a 408 stroker, fuel-injected motor. We did a 5-speed overdrive. And then we did all modern suspension. So it had coilovers on all 4 corners, big disc brakes on it, big rubber, but then like a full race car interior. So it was pretty stripped down with a roll bar, Sparco racing buckets, full autometer gauges, and a bare bones interior with a cool switch panel and exposed like parking brake, and a lot of really neat details that just kind of took that car over the top. And one of the things that's really cool about the '71 Challengers is the side scoops on them, and so we actually made functional rear cooling ducts for the rear brakes out of those side scoops. And that's when we started to get into our stride with the business. It was like we had the liberty to kind of take some ideas and expand upon them, and people really had a lot of trust and faith in our abilities. So that was one of those cars where the more that we worked on it, the more Daniel, the owner, just kind of had us keep adding all these details, and it turned into what was going to be probably a 1 to 2 year project, ended up being like a 3, almost 4 year project. But because of that, it was just this one-off creation that really, when we got it out on the car scene, it just like blew people's minds because it was just so different. Nobody had really gone that far with a '71 Challenger before. But the other, side part of that was it really kind of started leaning the business into kind of a race car minded build mindset. So about that time when we finished the car, I still had my 67 Dart, and we were still showing it off and promoting it, and it was still a great marketing tool for us. But some friends of mine introduced me to the Optima Battery Ultimate Street Car Challenge, and so I decided to bring that car to Road America and compete in that series. And that is really kind of what changed the whole direction of the company at that point, that event. It really opened my eyes to a lot of different things. I'd never been to Road America, and I was almost ashamed to say it because it was like right in our backyard in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. So we get to the track and, you know, all the big names from the industry there. You had Kyle Tucker from Detroit Speed, you know, and you had all these big names and all these iconic cars, and I'm out there with these guys. I've just got my 67 Dart with a big block and a 5-speed and kind of more drag race suspension in it, but I was like, whatever, I'm gonna give this thing a shot and see what it does on the track. And that weekend really changed the game for me. It was just like, opened my eyes to this whole different driving experience, and it showed me that these cars are just put to their absolute limits. You know, it's just from the Speed Stop Challenge to the road course to the autocross, you know, all these different events, really just like you are using 100% of that car. And so I took away after that weekend, it was just like, all right, this is the direction I want to go with the business. This is how I want our cars to be used. And so it changed my whole perspective on everything. I kind of had some soul searching to do at that point. Since my car was set up as more of a street strip, kind of almost more drag car, I knew I was gonna have to completely tear the thing apart and basically start over. But fortunately, I met a guy down there at that event who loved the car, and he knew about the car from Mopar Muscle and Carcraft magazine, and he made me an offer on the car. And I wasn't ready to commit at the time, but after I came home and thought about it for a few weeks, I thought, you know, if I'm gonna take the plunge into this avenue of the business, I think now is the time to part ways with that car and just start fresh.